Let's pivot back to this zero net emissions. I've been hearing some things from Bill and some others that have said that the punishment for
Oh my.
not obeying this is really, really severe. Tell us a little bit about what they want to do to try to enforce this.
Oh, well, you've never heard anything like this in your life, Josh. Honestly, so 3 nights ago, I've been doing a lot of media in the UK and all over the world about this. So what they're doing is they're trying to put a bill through, which ostensibly on the surface seems quite reasonable. You know, like all dictators' bills seem quite reasonable on the surface. But what it actually means is that if you do not adhere to net zero standards for your property, either as a private landlord or private property owner, you can go to prison.
Welcome back to the program. My guest today is a patriot from the other side of the pond. She's been a regular commentator on the BBC networks in the UK, and she's also a co-host of a popular satirical political quiz show with a very interesting title called That Was the Woke That Was. She's also the director of car26.org, an anti-net zero organization that exposes the climate change scam. Please welcome Lois Perry to the show. Lois, how are you doing today?
I'm really, really well. I am. I'm so glad to be on, Josh. Thank you so much for having me.
Good, good. Well, I'm glad to have you on the program. We got a lot to discuss today. The first thing
Yeah.
that I want to ask you is tell us a little bit about your organization, Car 26, what its
Mhm.
mission is, and how are you working each and every day to accomplish it?
Well, so Cars 26 was set up at the same time as COP 26. It was a little bit of a Mickey take. I actually went to COP 26 and got thrown out. I was doing an interview on Talk TV, Murdoch Station, and actually they realized I was there and I had to run to the disabled toilet and lock myself in to do the interview on my phone with them banging on, saying, get out, get out. So, they weren't quite the bastions of free speech that we'd hoped they were. But anyway, so CAR stands for Climate Analysis Reason, and there hasn't been much of that, has there? It's all been alarmism. It's all been gone from COVID to climate, neo-Marxist agenda. Let's push it down everybody's throats, tax you more, stop you moving, stop you living, stop you actually being human beings, and using different things for it. The most recent one is climate. So my backers, who were Brexiteers, thought, do you know what? The next thing they're going to use to try and control us is the climate agenda. So we put Car 26 together, and every day we are campaigning against mad net zero policies. We're explaining what it means to people, and we're telling people, come on, guys, we love you. We think you're fantastic. This is nothing to do with the green agenda and everything to do with the stopping you having a capitalist society, freedom, democracy. This is what this is really about, and that's what we do every single day.
Well, I got to tell you, here in America, we have the green Nazis as well. They want to do the entire deindustrialization, if you will, of America. I
It's
mean,
nothing to do with being green.
that's
No.
really what their goal is. And right
Yeah.
now we have bills and policies from people like AOC that are called the Green New Deal, or as I call it, the Green New Steel, because it's really about stealing your freedom and your liberty and your prosperity.
Oh, absolutely. They feel that capitalism has had its run. They
Mhm.
feel that this is their time, and they're going to use whatever they can to get you to do it. Do you know what makes me laugh though, Josh? You've got all these kids, bless their hearts, who thinks they think they're rebelling. They think they're rebelling by campaigning for trans rights, for campaigning for the green agenda, for net zero. and they're working for the big corporations and they're working for the government. Bless their little hearts, eh? They're not rebels at all, are they?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we have they want to ban gas stoves, they want to ban gas furnaces, refrigerators, all
Right.
these different things. So we
Yeah.
have our own issues here, but tell us a little bit about the referendum, I guess at this point that is not, because your prime minister refuses to allow the people to have a vote on it, in which you want to have a vote on a net zero emissions standard and referendum. Tell us a little bit about that and how that's going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, it's very surprising the numbers because even before we launched, even the height of all of the mania and all of the, all of the campaigning in favor of net zero, when we launched 2 years ago, we actually did some YouGov polling at the time of COP26. And what that YouGov polling showed was that 58% of those that expressed an opinion wanted a net zero referendum. Those numbers were put to Boris Johnson. He was quite surprised actually at COP26. And now it's even closer. Our most recent polling shows that 62% of those that have been polled that want and have an opinion, YouGov polling, this is very respected polling, want to have a referendum. No, our prime minister won't allow us to have a referendum. But he's not our prime minister, Josh. He was put in with the globalist coup. Our prime minister should currently be either Boris Johnson, who is a bit green, unfortunately, but I think he's been bought, even though he's a nice guy, but actually Liz Truss. Liz Truss was voted in by the Conservative members completely democratically, and she was ousted in a globalist coup by Rishi Sunak. I said that on GB News. I got over 1 million views in about an hour. Unfortunately, I was banned from every single station because of that for 6 months, even the one that I work at now. So we're in a very interesting situation. You are so lucky, Mr. Bernstein. You are really lucky because you have Donald Trump. We have nobody like that. We have every single party is the same. We have two parties, very small parties, because of our first past the post system. They've got, unfortunately, they can make a dent, but they haven't really got much of a hope. Well, no hope actually of taking power. You've got Trump. You've got the ability because of the presidential system to actually fight this nonsense. We haven't. God bless America, because where you lead, we follow. So all our hopes are on you now, Josh. They really are.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're doing everything in our powers here in the United States to make
Oh,
sure that
thank
Donald
you. Thank
Trump
you.
can be reelected. We have faulty voting machines. We have, unmitigated amounts of fake ballots and fake signatures, and we have our own
We
issues
have
and
a
things like
candidate.
that.
We don't
And
have a
and
candidate.
again, we do have Donald Trump, but right now,
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally facing, four
I
different
know. I know.
indictments, and who knows how many more. But let me ask you this, as far as the referendum is concerned, you say
Yeah.
that the polling shows that the people in the UK want the referendum, and that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
What do you think if they were given the opportunity to actually do the referendum and vote? Do you think that it would pass as far as being an anti net zero referendum, or do you think that if the referendum went forward, there would be enough either shenanigans and or people supporting the net zero referendum?
Right. Well, I think the thing that we've got in this country, so you're right. Okay. So there's pluses and minuses in both countries, both sides of the ponds. And we're both so united with a common language. Obviously, you were a colony of ours. Now you're completely free. Now you basically run us. Okay. We can deal with that. That's fine. Let's work together. I feel that, if there was to be a referendum, that yeah, absolutely, we don't have voting machines, we don't have all of that jazz, that the people would actually win. And no one wants a referendum on a subject unless they're unhappy with the status quo. We won Brexit. Our civil service has not allowed it to be implemented. It's been an absolute nightmare. That that's why they won't give the people a say again. So yeah, as I say, there are pluses and minuses to both
So
sides.
let's talk about Brexit a little bit. You're obviously very close with Nigel Farage from the Independent
Yeah.
UK Party
Maybe
at the
coming out
time.
with me to Washington soon, so we might be able to say hello. I don't
Oh,
know
good. Well,
whereabouts.
that would be wonderful. I'd love to meet him. And so when Brexit happened,
Mm,
Obviously, the referendum went forward. The people voted to leave.
mm.
However, now we are a few years later. What types of things and trials and tribulations have the British people have put in front of them that is actually keeping them from a quote unquote full on Brexit?
Well, when a president is elected in the United States, it's my understanding, you can correct me, obviously, you know much better than I do, that he brings in his own administration. In this country, where the civil service is a permanent structure whose loyalty, apparently, is to us and to the king or queen. I still can't get over saying the king. I still want to say queen. But, so we've got a situation where, okay, we voted for it. We want to Brexit, but the civil service are totally woke. They're totally communist. They are totally neo-Marxist. They're totally left-wing. They do not want to Brexit. So what they've done is, number one, they haven't Brexited. Number two, they're starting to rejoin organisations. For example, yesterday it was announced that we were going to be joining the new European Scientific Fund. It it's just by stealth, and also what the other thing that the civil service are doing, they are enabling, very much so enabling. It's my understanding from sources that I have that there's an agreement with the French government that they will not send back any of the small boats that are coming over. Josh, we're getting 1,000 people a day coming over as economic migrants at the moment, claiming to be asylum seekers. If you're coming from a war-torn country, it's women and children, because the men are at home fighting. These are young men. They are weapons trained. They're short haircuts. They have very different cultural, oh god, how can I say this without it being, that they have different levels of understanding about what is good to do with girls' age and being appropriate. Yeah. So we have men coming over, nearly 1,000 a day, and the civil service are letting it happen, and it's a punishment. It's a punishment to the British people for voting for Brexit. So no, we have not reaped any of the rewards of Brexit, because if you have a permanent infrastructure, a permanent administration, not government, but administration, that will not enact any of the withdrawal stuff, what can you do? What can we do? It's a nightmare.
Well,
It's absolutely
that sounds similar to what is known as the deep state in the United States of America. In
okay.
other words, when a president is elected and a new president comes in, there is a whole bunch of people that still remain in the entrenched permanent government structure, and they
How
are
does that work?
holdovers from each administration. So that's what
That's a
happened to President
situation.
Trump. He came in with all these great ideas, and unfortunately, he had to use a tool called an executive order in order to get a lot of things done. But again, an executive order is not a law, so it's not permanent. And he had to fight each and every day against these entrenched people known as the deep state here
Extraordinary
in
man,
America.
seems to be, Donald Trump. I mean, on this side of the pond, I just see just extraordinary strength. Is that right?
I'm sorry, you say that again?
I just see him as an extraordinary strong man. Is that right?
Well, he certainly is. I mean, obviously, look what he's enduring. I mean, 4 indictments. There's reports out that I've heard from people close to Trump that he spends $1.2 million American dollars every day defending himself against this garbage. And
That's almost as much as I spend on my beauty regime, Josh. I don't know if it's paying off.
so let me ask
So
you this. Let's talk. Let's
I'm
pivot a
actually
little bit. Let's
400
talk
years
about
old.
the wokeness. Tell us a little bit about this interesting show that you do. That was the woke that was.
Yeah, so okay, so in the mainstream media in the UK is so off the Richter scale woke, it's unbelievable. But on our channel, as I say, it's Rupert Murdoch's last remaining UK channel. It's his baby. We push the envelope a little bit, and so that was the woke that was. What we do, we have two teams. On each team is myself permanently and another guy who works in the political sphere, and a wonderful presenter called Andre Walker, who's a big star in the UK. And basically, oh my God, life imitating art, art imitating life. So these stories are presented to each team. So I might have a politician or a comedian or a business person on either side. And basically we have to guess whether a woke story is real or not. Sometimes you can't tell. Actually, sometimes we have stories that we've made up and they actually turn out to be real a few weeks later, because the
That's
world is so
insane.
crazy.
I would love to be on that show. That would be a lot of
Oh
fun.
my God, I'd love you to be on my show, but you'd have to be in the studio. So you have to tell me when you
Oh
come
gosh,
to the
gosh,
UK.
oh boy.
When are you
Yeah.
next in the UK?
I've never been there, and I don't plan on being
Right,
there. I
right.
don't
Well,
think
this
I
is
can
a good
fly
thing
too
for you
much
to know. I'll
around the
tell you what,
country, if you know what I mean.
I have another late night show on Talk
Maybe
TV,
you
which
do a
I'd love.
traveling show and you come here, and then we can do it then.
Oh wow! Well, when I come over, maybe Nigel and I can come.
There you go. That would be a lot of fun. It'd be an
It
interesting time.
would. It would
So
be fun.
let's pivot back to this zero net emissions. I've been hearing some things from Bill and some others that have said that the punishment for
Oh my.
not obeying this is really, really severe. Tell us a little bit about what they want to do to try to enforce this.
Oh, well, you've never heard anything like this in your life, Josh. Honestly, so 3 nights ago, I've been doing a lot of media in the UK and all over the world about this. So what they're doing is they're trying to put a bill through, which ostensibly on the surface seems quite reasonable. You know, like all dictators' bills seem quite reasonable on the surface. But what it actually means is that if you do not adhere to net zero standards for your property, either as a private landlord or private property owner, you can go to prison. So, say for example, I mean, in America, it's probably a little bit different because your houses are that little bit newer. But in the UK, 90% of our housing stock would cost thousands, and I mean tens of thousands of dollars to get up to the levels of net zero emissions. Well, it's complete nonsense, isn't it?
So
But to
almost
get
like
up
a refurbishing of the home in order
yeah,
to
or you go to
get it to
prison,
be
or you get a fine. Yeah,
the
which means
standards
people.
of the new net zero emissions factor. Sounds like the Green New Steel here
It
in
does.
America. We have a
Oh, right,
terrible
okay.
congresswoman named AOC. You've probably heard of her. I call her Dumbelina because she's not very bright. She just figured out a few years ago what a garbage disposal
They're
was.
never very bright. They're never
Yeah,
very bright. They're
exactly.
either torch or they're not bright. Yeah,
So
go
the
on.
Green New Deal or Steel is similar. They want to fit businesses and buildings and all this stuff, and it would cost millions
Let's
and
be
billions
honest,
and
Josh.
billions
They
of
don't want to
dollars.
refit them. They want to shut them down. Let's
Yeah,
be honest.
yeah,
They want to shut them
exactly.
down. Neo-Marxism does not want small business. It doesn't want medium business. In fact, it doesn't want a middle class. It wants what we would have had in the UK 500 years ago, the lards and the serfs, and no middle, because that's what they're doing.
Are you hearing
Absolutely.
rumblings in your country about lockdowns and new COVID requirements and
Yeah,
masks and all that
yeah,
stuff? You are?
yeah, yeah. The
Well, you have a
the
big
new.
voice in your country, and you have to be as loud as possible to tell
I
anyone and
will.
everyone there, please
I will.
defy these orders. Please defy the government. Please
You know what? You've got
be
to be
civilly
brave.
disobedient.
You've got to be brave. I was speaking to somebody earlier on. He's a Jewish guy. He lost a lot of his family in the Holocaust, a huge amount of his family, German family. And I said to him, he said, "What can we do? You know, how can we fight this?" And I said to him, "Do you know what?" He said, "But there's only one party because, as I say, in America, at least you do have Trump, even though he's under fire. At least he's there. We don't have anybody like that apart from Nigel at the moment." And I said, "You know what, Jonathan?" I said, I'm going to go down fighting because there's no way I could be a collaborator. And he 100% agreed with me. No way am I collaborating with this. No way. History is not going to remember Lois Perry as a collaborator.
No, and they won't do that for Josh Bernstein either. But
Good.
we need to make
Excellent.
sure that everybody is on the same page. They can't arrest us all.
Yeah.
They can't kill us all. They can't
No,
jail
they
us
can't.
all. We have
No.
to be defiant because fool us once, shame on us. Fool us twice, shame on you.
Yeah.
We've
Shame
got
on
to
you.
be able to fight against all of this stuff. So,
Yeah.
Lois, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the program. Where can
I
folks
love
go to
that.
learn more about some of the stuff and important work that you do?
Right. Well, my Twitter is at Lois Perry 26. I'm not 26, sadly, even after all that 1.3 million a day that I spend. But
Oh boy.
no, so Lois Perry 26 on Twitter, or X as it's called now. And if you could go to www.car26.org, we are, everyone accuses us of taking cash from like big corporations. we've had a few donors, but actually the majority of our donors are ordinary people who are libertarians and know what's going on. So if you could either buy some of our merchandise or even make a $10 donation, it would be so appreciated. Thank you. Card26.org.
No problem. Well, all I can say honestly is that you are a fighter, you're a patriot, and you have hundreds and millions of fighters and patriots here on this side of the pond, and we are in solidarity together to save both of our nations.
Winston Churchill's mum was an American, and he's our greatest Brit. So we love you guys.
You got it. God bless.
Okay.
Take care now.